Today we are going to go over how you can make your very own custom rush layouts. First, let's go over some of the basics on how this mode works. We'll use Stranded as an example. Each team will have a custom spawn point. It will have a radius around it for spawn protection. Then we have the locations of both of the MCOMs. When both MCOMs are destroyed, a retreat phase will begin, and then the spawn points will update to their new positions. Once the new phase starts, the new MCOMs will be moved to their new positions and reactivated. Let's zoom out for a moment. We also have the locations of the default base spawns. This is so that only players using the default spawns will be teleported to our custom ones, and this does not affect players attempting to spawn on their squad. Now, let's take a look at the editor on how you can customize it or create your own layouts. To simplify the setup, we have three main areas. The main mod on the left, which has a few settings at the top you can modify. The map configuration on the right, which you will be using. And then the core logic at the bottom, which you do not need to touch as it handles everything for you. I have left notes around the editor to try and help you. If you see a question mark on the box, you can click on it for even more information. There are a few default options I have left at the top of the mod that you can tweak. Debug mode. This spawns a duplicate MCOM so the AI can play the objective. This will no longer be needed if there is a patch to resolve the issue. Enable base icons. Retreat distance. This is how far the defenders need to move back from the last objectives during the retreat phase. Game time. You can set this to your heart's content. Reinforcements. This is the default reinforcement count for each map. On the right we have the map configuration. I've split this into three rows. The map setup, which is the base coordinates and other key information. The map spawns. These are the spawn points for each sector. And the map objectives. These are the MCOM locations and the rotation. The very first column is the map detection. Based on the map detected, it will run the subroutine and run the settings for that map. I have also included a feature to allow you to have up to 2 layouts. I have done an example with Orbital, which has 2 layouts, the rest just have 1. Let's go through the configuration for Orbital, starting with the setup subroutine. The only mandatory block is setting up the team-based locations so we can use our custom spawns. Unlike Stranded, this map only has 1 coordinate for each base. The rest of the following options are completely optional. We can set the maximum reinforcements for the attackers. We can also define which team is attacking or defending. There are controls to enable and disable ground vehicles for each team. Additionally, there are controls to enable and disable air vehicles for each team. However, you will need ground vehicles enabled to use this feature. You can set the spawn protection distance and finally the retreat distance. Let's move on to the spawns for Orbital. Here you can set the spawn locations for each sector. We have spawns for the players, but we can also have spawn points for the vehicles, which also have their own spawn protection. Vehicles must have their own different spawn points to players, as this can cause vehicles to permanently despawn. If you are not using vehicles, you do not need to set up their spawns. Additionally, if you want to use the default base spawns, set the location as 000. Finally, we have the objectives configuration. Here we can set the location and the direction that the MCOM is facing for each sector. You can add as many sectors as you like. The best way to see what your MCOM's positions will look like would be through using the MCOM placement utility, which I will have linked in the description. Another tool you can use is the Battlefield Coordinate Finder, which allows you to copy coordinates from a community collection straight into the editor. You can also use this tool to save coordinates that you find as well. Simply click on the coordinate and paste it into the editor. If the coordinate is for an MCOM, it will also contain the rotation or the yaw, which you can also copy across. I will also have this linked in the description. Remember, if you create a new subroutine for a new map, make sure to add it to each of the initial map checks for the setup, spawns and objectives. You can fine-tune the sectors individually by enabling and disabling vehicles, or altering the spawn protection and retreat distance. This can be useful if some maps are bigger or smaller, or maybe you just want vehicles disabled for one sector and then added again later on. The choice is yours. You can still customise the basic settings such as the factions, weapons and vehicles. For now I have left it as Battlefield 3 and only enabled the tanks and light vehicles. You can customise this to your liking. I've included a selection of maps to help you get started, and I plan to expand this collection later on. But for now, if you have any further questions, please feel free just to comment below or reach out to me in the Battlefield Discord server.